You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Jerome Corsi. Today it's Tuesday, it's May 6, 2025. Thanks for joining us here on this is CorsiNation.com. We retired the Truth Social, TruthCentral.com, which I've been broadcasting on now for a couple of years. I'm fully back at doing the political work because I've been a rugged few years with the Mueller investigation wanting to put me in prison, and then my wife not being able to handle it, so she has an affair and divorces me a couple of years later, ending a 32-year marriage. And so she didn't want me in politics, couldn't stand the idea that I might have the FBI at the door again. So God took her out of my life and put me back to work. First story I want to cover today is a really important one that means a lot to me. This is that Tina Peters was released from prison, is going to be released from prison because President Trump ordered it. Now, this is, I think, extremely important. And there's been a move on habeas corpus to say she should never have been in prison. She should be out of prison. And Trump is responsive. He's listening. So what he's saying here is that a very excellent post on X saying radical left Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser, Weiser, ignores illegals committing violent crimes like rape and murder in his state, and instead jailed Tina Peters, a 69-year-old Gold Star mother who worked to expose and document Democratic election fraud. Tina is an innocent political prisoner, being horribly and unjustly punished in the form of cruel and unusual punishment. This is a communist persecution by the radical left Democrats to cover up their election crimes and misdeeds in 2020. This is President Trump writing, and he couldn't be more right on. President Trump continues, the same Democratic Party that flies to El Salvador to try to free an MS-13 terrorist is cruelly imprisoning, perhaps for life, a grandmother whose brave and heroic son gave his life for America. Colorado must end this unjust incarceration of an innocent American. I am hereby directing the Department of Justice to take all necessary action to help secure the release of this hostage, in quotes, hostage, being held in Colorado prison by the Democrats for political reasons. Free Tina Peters now. That couldn't have been better. I mean, that's so right on. First of all, he's calling the Democrats communists. Actually, they're treasonous. They're traitors. They hate America. They hate anything that's good. They're satanic. I mean, the Democratic Party today, to me, has no justification for being around. It's lost its way. It's simply out there in the wilderness, crying for a reason to be other than destruction. Communist Party of the Democrats. And we need to quit calling it the Democratic Party. It's not there's nothing democratic about it. It's strictly a communist party. It's strictly a hate America party. And to distinguish it by calling it a Democratic Party, or these are Democrats who care about democracy, forget it. It's just a joke. I mean, the Democrats could not win an election, so they have to steal elections. Then they lie about it. They put somebody in prison who dares to point it out. This is the way the Democrats operate with lawfare. It's the way the Democrats operate as a criminal, treasonous party. Okay, so they steal, they cheat, they rob. Act Blue is a criminal enterprise that we're going to be exposing more in Act Blue. And so far, I don't see that Kash Patel is doing a damn thing. He and Pat Bondi are doing nothing. Where are the, at least Donald Trump has created a task force on election security, and he did it with Alina Habba in the White House. She's also acting as a U.S. attorney in New Jersey. But the point is, the Justice Department is so insidiously evil. There's so many people in the Justice Department doing nothing. We should, fire them all, tear down the building, start over again. It's not a Justice Department, and we can't get anybody to run it. Jeff Sessions was a total disappointment. And then you had Bill Barr and the Durham investigation. We still get nothing out of it. Now we think, okay, well, we got Dan Bongino in there. Certainly he's going to do something. Former Secret Service, nothing. What's happening? Dan's doing nothing. We have nothing coming out of this. Okay, well, Tina Peters being freed, all she wanted to do was preserve the election results in order to show in Colorado that the 2024 election had been stolen. Okay, this is a crime of magnitude to put her in prison. And the Democrats ought to be ashamed of themselves. But worse than ashamed of themselves, they ought to not be allowed to function with their criminal activity. They are the ones who are the criminals. Putting Tina Peters in prison to begin with was a great travesty. Okay, now we also then have at the University of Washington, Antifa or Antifa is now acting up again. I think, Chris, you've got some video of this. I guess they don't like the fact that Israel is going into Gaza to eliminate Hamas. Our universities are all indoctrinated pro-Palestinian. They're all indoctrinated to hate Jews again. How did this happen? Well, the left took over, and the left hates Jews. The left hates anything that has to do with God. Okay, so there's Antifa burning at the university, typical burning, students milling around, barricades, the Antifa, uniforms, and students just kind of walking around doing nothing. A little fire here, they're acting up with their outfits, and they're thugs waiting to be attacked and to be let's send it to the military and get every one of these Antifa arrested and put in prison. Here's another view of it. Again, you see them assaulting a police car. The police car is just backing up. Antifa's got trash cans that they're putting as their shields. So they cut the trash cans in half, and these are their shields. Okay, and the police are leaving. So Antifa is now acting up and taking over the university. This is education in the United States, according to the Democrats. Shut down these universities. And the universities are doing nothing but producing anti-Americanism. They're producing communism. They're producing students who are not fit to be in universities. Trash cans as shields. I mean, these people, it's pathetic. Of course, the Democrats love this. The Democrats think this is wonderful. Any kind of chaos, any kind of disorder, the Democrats love. Chris, I want you to come on. I want to show Silicon Satan. We're going to do another.
You got to see this, though. This is another one. One of these guys are upset about his comrades, if you will, getting arrested.
So what does he do?
Check it out.
My favorite thing I love seeing is when the resistance in Palestine shoots an Israeli tank and kills them. The same goes for the cops, honestly. When I saw the precinct burn,
from buildings in Gaza, that's my favorite.
Show me evidence. Shut the fuck up. When I saw the precinct burn during 2020.
Yeah, she likes the precincts burning in 2020. She wants to see Israelis killed.
I think it's an it. I'm not sure if it's. I guess they put a trans Tifa or something like that. Supposedly, this is from a Andy.
Oh, it's her. That's the pronoun. That's just this thing's pronoun. What's
well? Let's see what Andy No's comment was from his Twitter or X feed, if you will. A trans Antifa member, and so I guess a Trantifa or something like that.
Trantifa. Trantifa. I Silicon Satan, Craig Lund. These people are possessed, and they're possessed, and they the worship of Satan by the left, by the Silicon Valley anti-God faction, the Hollywood anti-God faction, the Congress, the elite. I mean, the Satanism is on the rise. And the real Satanism, which, killing babies, eating babies, bizarre sexual rituals, drugs. I mean, these people are clinically insane. But of course, that's just normal for the Democrats, isn't it? I mean, Chris, I can't think of a single. That's mutilate children before they reach the age of puberty, and let's kill babies in the womb, and the baby lives and the mother doesn't want. Let's kill it anyway. I mean, these ideas are nuts. Chris?
I agree. I agree. But the problem is a lot of these young kids who are, I don't know, they want to feel destructive. They want to grab attention. They think this whole thing is kind of neat. They think they're playing with fire. They don't realize what what they're supporting or what they're doing sometimes. I do believe a lot of this is about attention getting. It's about going along with the crowd and feeling like they belong somewhere.
Well, it could be. I mean, all that is just an excuse for vigilantism and for burning the streets and destroying public buildings and not getting educated but tearing down classrooms. Again, this is all promoted by the universities, and then the universities turn around, they want federal money. Look at Harvard. Harvard's crying because it's got its federal money and may have its tax exempt status removed. And so they're all crying, but at the universities, all the universities have been doing. I left the universities really in 1981, 1982, because I could see that, you're only going to get hired and promoted to tenure if you were a communist. It'd be better if you were, some kind of a racial orientation communist, except maybe Asian. They didn't like Asians particularly, but Black or Chicano, these were all good. And then if you were Black and Asian Chicano woman communist, that was even better. Or trans communist, that was even better.
Yeah. Depends on how many boxes you can check at one time.
Yeah. They call it intersectionality.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad these are starting to fall out of favor, or they've been falling out of favor for a couple of years, but it's really going downward for them. Still, the attention seekers will always use or use this kind of vehicle to show the world that they're here.
Well, I know that there's an element here of detention setting, and it can be explained as youthful rebellion and all the rest of it. It's still motivated by a group of communists who are adult, who are promoting and funding this and supporting it, and law enforcement that stands by and takes a knee to it as if it was right. Okay, and the FBI taking a knee. They were disciplined or reduced in rank. They should have been fired outright. It's politicized. We don't need politicized law enforcement, which is what we've got. And Tina Peters is an example of how the Democrats hate anybody who dares to stand up to them. They can't stand life. They can't stand God. They can't stand truth. And they steal votes and they cheat. Okay, I want to switch here to the Middle East in a minute, but I want to also comment on God's Five Stones and the foundation. We posted a new article yesterday, and if you just go right to the homepage, you'll see that the first thing that comes up is this new article. And what we found in Wisconsin is that there is a secret code in the database. A whistleblower found it. It's made a 10-letter code. If you just scroll down a little bit there, Chris, you'll see the article right there. And the code identifies, for instance, 2 votes that are the same person with different voter IDs. So there is a secret code that doesn't show up in the database. Only one computer in the Wisconsin system had this code visible. Code's deep in the database. It's there, but it's not visible unless you have the secret computer that allows you to read the secret code. Okay, the secret code identifies duplicate votes, the same person, each of which are duplicate gets its own ID. Okay, now this is again another clear indication that Alina Haba's task force needs to go into Wisconsin now and seize the computers. The fraud starts in the Board of Education with a corrupt database. Corrupt database has maybe 1 million false records in it. Now, how can you have a database with 1 million false records? The database is 7 million records. They don't scrub these databases in fact, databases are riddled with intentional duplicates that are hidden and voted. I don't think the Democrats could win an election if they had to do it legitimately. I don't think we'd have a single Democrat in office. Maybe one or two, but not nearly a majority. Okay, this paper I think is an important paper. And again, God's Five Stones is raising money. We're going to go and fight this battle because I think we're going to win it. And what Donald Trump has done by getting the Department of Homeland Security involved is he said this is a national security crisis. In other words, the military can be involved. And I think the military are going to be needed to solve some of these problems because our courts appear to be also completely riddled with treasonous communists, Soros-funded. Okay, let's go to the Middle East. I want to switch gears, and it's clear right now that Israel has given a deadline of May 15th, which is just about 10 days from now, not 9 days from now. If the hostages are not released, Israel's going to go in and they're going to level every building. So no building's going to be standing. They're going to turn the entire place into rubble. They're going to depopulate it. So Israel's going to take over Gaza and get rid of Hamas. They'll kill every one of them or get every one of them out of there, which is a good idea. It's the only way to do it, unfortunately. And so if they flatten all of Gaza and get it so that Hamas is eliminated and they don't return because it's uninhabitable, then you've begun to at least make Israel more secure. Now, of course, then you've got Iran over here and the Houthi rebels in Yemen, which are going to say, well, we'll cause terror around the world. And the university students are going to say, well, we're going to protest because we don't want to see Palestinians killed. This is genocide by the Jews. Well, the anti-Jew hatred is just, it'll be the death of humanity. We've got to stop this insanity. Okay, we don't need another Holocaust. And Israel's reacting in an existential way that it feels completely threatened by all sides, with Hezbollah in Lebanon, with Hamas in Gaza, with Iran under Obama and Biden moving rapidly towards nuclear weapons. Who knows if Iran already has a half a dozen nuclear weapons? We don't know. And Iran is threatening to retaliate. The world is going to retaliate here. And by the way, Europe just gave $2 billion to reform Hamas, reform the Palestinian Authority. Macron was behind that. I mean, Macron, the French, again, are dysfunctional. It's, they're great for making, pâté, cooking, making great French bread, okay? But when it comes to fighting a war or organizing a society or being a moral people, the French are the worst. And so therefore, they're going to support Hamas, which is going to support terrorism, which is going to kill Jews. And finally, Israel's had enough of it. Israel's going to say, we're going to be secure. Jews are going to survive. And anybody who tries to threaten and kill the Jews is going to get killed themselves. Now, war only perpetuates war. It doesn't solve any problems. That's why I'm saying that, yes, getting rid of Hamas is important, but even more important is resuming the Abraham Accords, getting the Middle East to understand that it's not going to get anywhere. It's not going to remove Israel, destroy Israel without a nuclear war. And by the way, I think the world wants a nuclear war. We're headed back in that path again. And under Biden, we were very close to nuclear war because these Democrat demons do not want their crimes found out. They would rather have nuclear war. Now, President Trump yesterday gave, I think, another $350 million in some military equipment to Ukraine after Zelensky signed the rare earth mineral deal. And again, that's on the wrong path. The best thing to do is not reward Zelensky, but cut off his money. If we're going to get rid of Hamas, we're going to get rid of Act Blue, we're going to get rid of the Democrat traitors, we've got to cut their money. Okay, and so Europe and NATO are talking about having a NATO army now. That's a joke. How are they going to have a NATO army of 27 countries when nobody speaks the same language? How are they going to issue an order? How are they going to get any discipline? Okay, and by the way, I'm sure the army would have to be male and female and transgender. They have to be DEI and ESG. Of course, I'd like you to come on and comment about this, because this is one of the most silly ideas I've heard, is that Europe is going to have an army.
Well, they seem to think they need to team up somehow, and if they really think the U.S. is going to help them out with that, they got another thing coming. But an EU army, an army of nations with vastly different interests, I believe that might be the big deal there. You're seeing a lot of these nations. You're seeing Hungary go break apart from the Western European, let's just say, self-destruction. Germans are upset about what's going on, so they're voting more for the AfD party is getting more popular. The French, if it wasn't for throwing Marine Le Pen in jail, you'd see the right side, the center right, get more power. So it looks like these left-leaning leaders, are trying to consolidate, and maybe they're gonna tell you they're using the EU army for defense. But I believe it sounds like they're going to strengthen up, or try to strengthen up, to put down opposition.
Well, they don't want to have, they don't want to have anybody criticize them.
Right.
Don't dare say anything about the EU, or you'll be arrested.
So this is not for defense; it's for offense. That's what I believe. It's to put opposition down, but together.
Yeah, the circle of stars and the blue background, isn't it beautiful? United Nations, all unity. Look, the best thing we can do with the United Nations is not fund it, not fund NATO, not fund Zelensky, not fund Ukraine, not fund Iran. All these things without money die. And that's the only solution to them, is starve them for money, because they're money machines. And all we do is print money and steal it with the Democrats. USAID, I'm glad we got rid of USAID. And look at how PBS is crying. They want to say, take it away, our Sesame Street.
Sesame Street's going to do just fine, by the way.
Yeah.
I understand they lost HBO in December.
As well.
Or HBO Max or something like that.
The whole thing of the left is propaganda, lies, indoctrination, Silicon Satan. It's, so the CIA gets involved in killing Kennedy. Just go through all the lies we've been told. The Tonkin gay, everything's gay.
Well, think about this. The French can help with that. They can also help teach the other nations how to surrender well.
They have a surrender party. Avoid the war, just surrender.
If Britain's smart, they shouldn't have any part of that either.
Yeah, well, Britain's not smart. It's overrun by Muslims.
They were smart enough to exit the currency, so get rid of the EU, euro, that is. So that at least is a point for them. But their leadership right now.
Nigel Farage, I would love to see him become prime minister. And
it would be nice. You just need the people of Britain to not be afraid to vote for the Reform Party. You have to get rid of the Conservatives, which are pretty much the Labour light at this point. But if you minimize them and make sure Reform becomes the second party, that's the only way Reform is going to win.
Well, likely true. But what we're seeing in the Middle East, I think, is an expanding potential for war. But again, I think with Donald Trump in the White House, it's going to be contained. Now we're bombing the Houthis in Yemen. Okay. And their nutcases wanted to close down the Panama Canal and harass shipping and the all around anything in the Middle East coming through the Red Sea. They want to just harass and make it difficult to ship through the Panama Canal. So the chaos factor, I think, is really pretty high right now. And it's going to have to be, I think, contained eventually. But I don't see either war stopping right away. I think Zelensky can't afford for the war to stop. I think he'd probably be killed. Money stops flowing. The stealing of the money stops. It's a money laundering operation. In fact, the world has become a money laundering operation. It's like we just print money and steal it.
Oh, it's a Ponzi scheme, as many have said.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
That's right.
And it's going to collapse. And I think we see, the powers that be are recognizing this. Gold today is at $3,331 an ounce. And silver has really been holding it. It's now $33.09 an ounce. And so the world is understanding that the stock market is a bubble, housing is a bubble, all the national debt around the world is a bubble, and China will soon be brought to its knees. If China can't have slave labor, China's going to collapse, and China knows it. So China will come to the table and get a trade deal to reduce the tariffs in order to survive. And Donald Trump just ought to keep the pressure going, because at the rate the EU is going right now, it's going to collapse. It'll implode. The economics, now they're going to net zero in Spain and Portugal. Of course, they can't keep the lights on. And then Germany has closed its nuclear plant, so it's deindustrializing. The EU is bankrupt. But, again, if you think anybody knows or cares or is going to realistically report it, it's unlikely. Okay, now President Trump yesterday, we had a couple of questions at the White House. One of the reporters was saying that the picture of him as Pope upset Catholics. He said, wait, that was an AI picture. He didn't do it. So it was on the White House press released it. Well, the White House, sure, released it after it came out. Didn't create it. And Trump was saying, give me a break. I mean, it's a joke. Can't you people take anything? The left has nothing to talk about except to hate and attack Trump. And they're obsessed with it. Okay, that's why the left has nothing to say right now, because that's an old story, an old narrative. And the world has moved beyond it. What the left doesn't realize is that it's the left that has ridiculized itself and characterized it's a caricature of itself. Okay, now if we go to a couple more stories I want to cover quickly today. Trump was also asked about who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, and of course I think everybody knows that Biden did it. But I should get that data and publish it. I think I'll work on getting that data and out of Germany. There's seismic data which shows, I think, pretty effectively it was a mini nuclear bomb that attacked it, and seismic rays, seismic boom, and seismologists have demonstrated that the shock waves had to have been from a weapon of that magnitude, and likely came from us or Great Britain, and certainly it was not Russia that blew up its own pipeline. Okay, by the way, with the U.S. approving $310 million in training and sustainment for Ukraine's F-16s, you got Zelensky in the cockpit of an F-16 looking like he is a pilot. This guy's an actor. He's a clown. And he's dangerous because he doesn't care if he pushes a World War III. These people somehow think they'll survive World War III. They want World War III. Well, we prevented it when Biden was in by making sure Putin understood that Trump was going to come in and have some sanity. But if Trump now starts funding Ukraine, Putin is going to probably just take Kiev and put an end to this whole war. Zelensky is running the risk of losing the entire country rather than just ceding a bit of territory that Russia's taken. 2 provinces in the east that are Russian-speaking and Crimea. And like Israel, you're not going to get rid of the Jewish state in Israel unless we have nuclear war. You're not going to oust Putin for these 2 provinces or Crimea unless we have nuclear war. So the world had better accept it. You're not going to get rid of the state of Israel without nuclear war. Let's accept these things and move on. Okay, instead of hating them and wanting to destroy and plotting to kill, and a war has casualties, which sets up the hatred for the lost soldiers that's caused the next war. Okay, the CIA chief's astonishing admission. Okay, so now we're finding that finally some in the CIA are saying that the idea of a blowback, the idea that we're going to actually take territory, the idea that we're going to win in Ukraine is just not going to happen. Just the reality. It's just not going to happen. And so therefore, we've got to operate from these realities, not from the way somebody wants it to be. Okay, and universities are, I think, at the heart of what the problem is with our entire culture has been, because the universities have been breeding, amorality, sex, drugs, protest, hate America. So Harvard University is no longer going to be eligible for federal grants. That's what the White House informed the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, sent a letter to Harvard President Alan Garber on Monday to say the university is not eligible for federal grants until it makes significant changes to its management. And the letter cites low public confidence in higher education, Harvard's continued racial profiling, and takes issues with the virtually untaxed status of Harvard's significant financial endowment. Okay, so Harvard has failed to abide the United States Supreme Court's demand that it stop its racial profiling and admitting students. Okay, now if Harvard can say to the courts, thumb their nose at the courts, why can't President Trump do the same to protect America when these universities are doing it to destroy America? Having racial preferences is a form of racial prejudice against whites. It's prejudice in reverse. Okay, so if Harvard is cut off from grants and cut off from money, Harvard is going to squeal. It's going to feel pain. And it will not make changes, but it will maybe make some statements. But let's see if it ends its DEI program at the university or if it doubles the funding. My guess is Harvard just doubles the funding. The corruption that we're still dealing with in society is rampant. And Trump's mission to drain the swamp, which he's now taking seriously, is going to take a lot of doing. But I'm confident that Trump is going to succeed because we're 100 days into the administration. Already, the disruption Trump has caused is significant and game-changing. So we have to remind ourselves that Trump is winning and that we are winning because these demons are being exposed and they can't stand the light of day. All right, well, today is going to be a very, very busy day here, and I've got a schedule that's starting early today, so I'm going to end this today on the following note, and that is that in the end, God always wins, and God is winning here too. God saved Donald Trump's life by having a turn of the head at the right instant, so the bullet aiming towards his head just grazed his ear. That's the hand of God. And I'm imploring everybody in the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14, let's get on our knees and ask God to forgive us for letting the society get to this point. God will hear our prayer and heal our land. It's going to take God's intervention because this evil is pervasive. But in the end, God always wins, and we will see God win here once again. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi with CorsiNation.com. We're podcasting every weekday. Thank you for joining us today. God bless.